Hi, I'm Philosophy of Science, and this is my channel where I take a look at all things concerning scientific method. And I just started my first series, which is about how flat earthers misunderstand scientific method. And I specifically take a look at the content of Sleeping Warrior because he's considered like an expert on scientific method in flat earth society. And this is my third video. The first two were just about citations about independent variable that Sleeping Warrior was discussing in this video. But this video is going to be about the philosophical paper that he cites after he has talked about those citations and independent variable, and that is the thing I'm going to take a look at today. And this video is named "How the Independent Variable Literally Destroys the Ball: Applied Scientific Method." And now I'm going to just let it play for a while so we can hear what he thinks the paper is saying, and I'm going to comment on it, and then I'm going to take a look at the paper more closely after.
Must be manipulated. It is the presumed cause. There can only be one independent variable. This is science. It's really worth being aware of what it doesn't say is science. It does not say that you can infer additional causes. You can.
Okay, so this is very weird because he obviously it doesn't say that you can't infer additional causes, but what scientific experiments are doing, they are trying to give us evidence so we could infer causes. That's the whole point of the experiment. That's the whole point of what science is doing. Science is trying to infer causes, so I don't really understand what he's talking about. Beside that, he is totally confused, but I'm going to go more deeply on this when we take a look at the paper he's citing here.
And not substitute in or introduce or suggest alternative causes. That would fall outside scientific method.
Yeah, I don't understand what this means. Suggest or infer alternative causes or any of it. It's probably has something to do with gravity, and he thinks that it's somehow like inferring some kind of additional cause or something like that. I've heard him say that, but I really don't understand this thought process because it's totally wrong.
Because there's no citations that allow you to do it.
Yeah, of course, there is no citation because the thing you're talking about doesn't make any sense.
We need a quick position with regards to what is inferred cause.
Okay, yeah. Here it is. He says that we have to take a look at what is inferred cause, and then he gives this paper. I call it a paper. It's not actually a paper. It's not peer reviewed. It's from the University of British Columbia website, and it's probably some kind of teaching material. I'm not quite sure what it is. If I find the page where I found this paper myself, I'm going to put it in the description, but I didn't write it down, so if I don't find it quickly, I'm probably not going to put it in the description. Yeah, but yeah, he is trying to explain us what is inferred cause. And yeah, okay, let's go to the video.
From the University of British Columbia, Richard Johns writes.
Yeah, okay. Before he starts reading what this paper says, this is actually something I'm pretty surprised that, well, it was probably dumb luck that made Sleeping Warrior use this paper, but this is not strictly about scientific method. This is about inference to the best explanation, which is a philosophical theory about explanation. But why I did say that I'm surprised that Sleeping Warrior is referring to this kind of paper is because inference to the best explanation is very, very, very important mode of explanation in science. Let's go back. So here, now let's listen to what Sleeping Warrior is saying.
Before we can discuss inference to the best explanation, we must be clear on what an explanation is. That involves the notion of causation and also of inference. There is an important difference.
Yeah, so what this is trying to do is define explanation. And it says that the explanation involves notion of causation and also of inference. See, it says also of inference. Both of these things are important for explanation in the mind of Richard John, who is writing this.
Difference between physical causation and rational inference.
Okay, and then it says that there is an important difference between physical causation and rational inference. Yeah, this is right, but let's see how wrong Sleeping Warrior can understand this.
Tim Osman calls this logic and reason. Causation is a physical process that happens in the real world, whereas inference is a mental process that occurs in the mind of a rumpus or a geostreber.
Okay, so what it actually says is causation is a physical process that happens in the world, whereas the inference is a mental process that occurs in the mind of rational person. So the rational person is the word he substituted.
There is a big difference between saying the physical event, the egg physically moves, or changing the density of the medium produced the egg moving.
Okay, so here what it actually says is that there is a big difference between saying the physical event A produces the physical event B. That is what he substituted.
And knowing that an event or a gravitational force exists, I can infer that caused the movement.
So, okay, and what he substituted there was from knowing that A occurs, it can be inferred that B occurs. And there he substituted that thing about inferring gravitational pull.
There is a big difference between the two. Surprisingly, perhaps one of the most common confusions in thinking about causation, or even among philosophers, in this case Rumpus, is to get mixed up with the inference. Do not make this mistake.
Yeah, okay. That is actually what the paper says, but the different thing is, what does it mean? This is the exactly same paper. I was able to find it. If I didn't write down the address where I found this, but if I'm able to find it easily, I'm going to put that address also in the description. And here is this exactly the same article that Sleeping Warrior was talking about. But the thing is that he seems to be thinking that experiments, when they are clear, you can make this kind of claim. You can make a claim that A produces B. So in his mind, it would be that the pouring of salt makes the pouring of salt makes the density change. So the A would be a density change, and B would be the egg moving. And he thinks that this is clear, his experiment is clear, so he can make this claim. But if you're inferring additional causes, as he says, like gravity having effect in his experiment, then you're making an inference that, and then you can just say, from knowing that A occurs, I can infer that B occurs. Well, the problem with this is that why these two things are here is not because there is from different kind of experiments you are able to make different kind of utterances. They are here because this first one, this is metaphysical claim. This is about the world. So this claim says that A produces the physical event B, which could be interpret as saying that there is causal relation between A and B. It would be the same thing. And here it is that from knowing that A occurs, I can infer that B occurs. This is epistemological claim. So it's about our knowledge. So this claim says that from knowing that A occurs, I can infer that B occurs. This doesn't claim that there actually is this kind of causal relation. That this just says that we are epistemologically entitled or entitled to say that if A occurs, I can infer that B also occurs. But we can. It's not obviously the case that there is this metaphysical connection between these two. This is the point why you make these distinctions. The one is about is a causal claim, it's a metaphysical claim, it's about the world, and two is epistemological claim, it's about our knowledge. And the thing is that, as it says here in this same paper that Sleeping Warrior is referring to, it says that the mere existence of a causal relation doesn't require us to be able to infer anything. So this basically is saying that we don't have perfect access to the world. We are not there is no way to know for sure that there is causal relationship in the world in any of the experiments we are making, or the kind of causal relationship we think it is. There are a lot of reasons for this. I'm not going to go into those. I'm probably making video on those, but you just have to take my word for it. So that we are never ever able to be sure that there is relationship between A and B, even though we are making a true experiment, we are manipulating our independent variable and whatever. We are not ever able to make this kind of claim because we can't be sure. We can science is only making this kind of claims. Science is always inferring causes from experiments. So it would be that Silent Warrior thinks that the thing that Silent Warrior is actually observing is that he pours salt into the water and egg moves. So that's all the information he can observe. If he says that the salt makes the density different. That's an inference. He's just infers it from I don't know where would the Flatterer just infer this, because I don't know if they trust any measuring instruments. But yeah, but to say that density produces egg movement, that's an inference. That is, Silent Warrior cannot be absolutely 100% sure that that is the case from the information he's getting in that experiment. So he is not entitled to claim that physical event A produces the physical event B. He's only entitled to say that from knowing that A occurs, I can infer that B occurs. Well, he wouldn't actually probably be even entitled to say that, but we can think that he would be. And this is all we have. Always. Experiments are always inferences. The explanation we give why the thing that we observed happened, it's always an inference. And this guy who has written this text seems to agree, because he says here that where he defines the explanation. Explanation is a story about what caused an object to exist or an event to occur. So this is what explanation is. This is what we do when we interpret the what is happening in our experiments. We are always explaining. We are always inferring. This is very obvious if you understand something. Here is a page about abduction, which if we read here, is that it says that in the letter it says that there's two kind of definitions about abduction, and in the latter sense abduction is also called inference, the best explanation, and this is the modern sense of the word abduction, and this article is about abduction. This is from Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which is extremely good internet source about philosophy. The pages are mostly peer-reviewed articles, but they are just shortened and made a bit simpler for people with a little less philosophical background are able to read and understand them, because actual peer-reviewed articles in philosophy are, at least in philosophy of science, require a lot of background knowledge to make any sense of them. So, but these are like a bit easier versions, at least the ones I've read from here and from actual peer-reviewed journals. It seems to be shorter and a bit simpler, but basically mostly the same thing. Most of the text is also exactly the same than in peer-reviewed articles. But why did I open this other than telling you that this is extremely good resource? That the reason was that here that it says that most philosophers agree that abduction, in the sense of inference the best explanation, is a type of inference that is frequently employed in some form of the other, both in everyday life and in scientific reasoning. So this says the same thing that I did, that this way of thinking, inference, the best explanation, is very important, and explanation is about a story about the cause and sorry about what caused an object to exist or an event to occur. So, and that story means basically it means saying that inference, because inference is basically a story. It's a theoretical reason for why two things occurred together. Well, to actually understand the whole thing, we should address what causality is and things like that. I'm going to make a video about that also, but that's extremely complicated subject, and there's no way I can go into it. But what I can tell you is that Sleeping Warrior understand this absolutely, utterly, totally wrong. His story about what happens in his own experiment is an inference. To say that density caused egg to move, it's an inference. I'm sorry, Sleeping Warrior, it is an inference. And your lack of knowledge doesn't make it any other. It's still an inference. But okay, let's go. This is also a pretty long video. Let's go to the next part. Okay, and this is, for me at least, the most hilarious part of this video, because the Sleeping Warrior understand this part of the video like totally other way around than what is meant. So this is Christian Huygens is writer, and it's from Treatise on Light. Let's listen what the Sleeping Warrior thinks.
Talking about you, Rumpus. One finds in this subject a kind of demonstration which does not carry with it such a high degree of certainty as that employed in geometry, and which differs distinctly from the method employed by geometers in that they prove their propositions by well-established and incontrovertible principles, whilst here principles are tested by the inference which are derivable from them. The nature of the subject, light, permits no other treatment. Well, thankfully in scientific method we do have other treatment. It's called scientific method. So it's only where you do not have any other treatment can you infer cause. But thankfully we do. We have scientific method.
Okay, let's go back. So, Sleeping Warrior seems to think that this part of the text is saying that when you don't have any other way of testing something, then you can infer a cause. Well, that is obviously not what this text is saying, just as I told you before, that we are always in science inferring things. What this thing is actually saying, this is the thing that you have probably heard someone say, that science doesn't prove anything. And this is basically pretty early formulation of that idea, that science doesn't prove anything. It says here that I have to add that in mathematics and in logics we have proofs. The proof means that you're absolutely sure of something. That's why we don't have proofs in science, because in science we can never be absolutely sure. And what this text is saying, this is just making that point. It says that method employed by geometers in that they prove their propositions by well-established and incontrovertible principles. So this means that in mathematics we have proofs, as it says, and they're from incontrovertible principles. So this means that there's like it's deductive process. you can from the principles you can absolutely surely know that anything you prove is correct. Well, I will explain that also in some other video, but not here. And then it says, while here principles are tested by the inference which are derived from them, the nature of the subject, yeah, as Sleeping Warrior says, light, it is light, but it can mean, but we can think any empirical experiment we can substitute here. So we can think that the nature of the subject, any empirical subject, permits no other treatment. So this is saying that we only have proofs in mathematics, and in empirical sciences we don't have. In empirical sciences we always have to infer the causes from the experiments we do. We can never be sure. It's always inference, and that in empirical sciences there is no other way. So this is actually the scientific method that Sleeping Warrior is talking about. This part of the text is trying to describe the scientific method, that empirical science is the method of testing things. This is trying to describe just that thing, and it doesn't say that in empirical sciences sometimes we don't need to infer. It's saying in all ways in empirical sciences we need to infer our causes because the nature of the subject permits no other treatment. That is the point of this text. And this is so extremely hilarious because Sleeping Warrior understand this absolutely wrong. He reads the definition, well, kind of definition of empirical science, scientific method, and then he thinks that scientific method is something else when the text is just talking about just that empirical scientific method of testing things that he's talking about. Sleeping Warrior, there is no other treatment. There is just one treatment in empirical sciences, to infer causes from experiments, and that is what this text is talking about. Oh god. Yeah. I'm actually worried that this might be the high point of this whole series for me, because I'm kind of doubtful that there is going to be anything more funnier than this, for me at least, but I don't know. I'm going to continue going through Sleeping Warrior's content and explaining why he is what he has understood wrong and why he has understood it wrong. And yeah, this was my philosophical video, the third part of the series on why Sleeping Warrior doesn't understand scientific method. And yeah, hope this was fun for you, or at least informative. Hope you found some value in my video. If there's someone watching, I at least did. This was super fun for me. Yeah, if someone is watching, thank you, and come back in about a week when I release my next video. I'm not totally sure what it's going to be about yet, but yeah, there is so much misunderstanding in flat earth society. There is so much misunderstanding in flat earth community when it comes to scientific method that, yeah, I don't think my material is going to run out quickly. But yeah, I haven't yet thought about what I'm going to do, but it's going to be something about scientific method. So thank you and goodbye.